to this week's Recruiting Corner Football Edition. I'm your host, Julie Boudwin, and today I'm joined by recruiting guru, Jimmy Smith. Welcome back to the studio.
Nice to be here, Julie.
How are you enjoying the first week of prep football season thus far?
It was exciting. A lot of good performances from prospects, a lot of teams taking steps forward and showing that they're going to be there and fighting in the playoffs in the end. It was a good start.
Well, besides the first week of the prep season, another big week for Tulane this weekend with the stadium opening up. Let's just talk a little bit about how the new stadium, there you see the photos, how that's going to help Curtis Johnson in the future with, recruiting prospects and how he's going to benefit from that. Even though they didn't get the win that they wanted against Georgia Tech, it was still a big weekend for the Green Wave. Yeah,
it's really just the college game day atmosphere that they'll be able to have now at Yeoman Stadium. Even a good Tulane crowd when they were in the Superdome felt empty. There was a lot of empty seats. There just wasn't that much buzz. And just driving up to Yeoman Stadium this weekend, you saw the fans congregating outside for blocks and blocks away, tailgating, something you're not used to seeing with Tulane football. So I think just that college day atmosphere when these kids come on these official and unofficial visits, to be able to be there in the stadium on campus with the student section and the band and everything else, it just creates that atmosphere you look for.
Well, Tulane hosted several prospects at that game. Shaw linebacker Joseph Prevost, Comeaux wide receiver Hunter Register. Who else was in attendance, and what do you think these prospects think of this new stadium?
There were a lot of guys in attendance. Joseph Prevost, big Shaw linebacker, has offers from Kansas State and Missouri, and he was there on the sidelines, and I stood next to him for a minute, and his eyes didn't leave the field. He was glued to see how the players were prepping for the game and watching how the coaches interact with them, and he's a good local New Orleans kid that wouldn't mind staying home. So I think that definitely has an effect on him. And as you said, Comeaux wide receiver Hunter Register made the trip. He's a guy that's being recruited heavily by Louisiana Lafayette. Tulane's really looking for a big 6'3", 6'4", a physical receiver. They have a lot of guys that are in that 6 foot and under mold, and they think Register could be one of those big-bodied receivers that they need. And there were almost 30 kids on campus. Most of their commitments were on hand. A lot of the younger prospects came, and talking to some guys this weekend, there are going to be some more elite prospects making the trip uptown this weekend. Everybody trying to get a piece of history, if you will, really, Tulane football history and New Orleans history as Tulane football's back uptown.
Yeah, and this week it'll be a really good in-state battle between Tulane and Southeastern, so we'll see who attends that one. All right, on to LSU. Plenty of in-state talent that the Tigers are targeting this season. Let's talk about 3 big names that the Tigers are focusing on, and maybe give me your predictions, your thoughts on those 3 players.
It's hard to do, and a lot of people shy away from it, but I'm going to go ahead and try to put some numbers on these guys.
Okay.
The chance I see them starting, we'll start with Tyron Johnson, the state's top overall prospect, wide receiver from Warren Easton. Could pick his school basically at this point, 40+ offers, phenomenal with the ball on his hands, and if I had to go and put a number on it, I would say there's a 50.1% chance he ends up being an LSU Tiger. I mean, he's really hard to read, but I know he really likes Cam Cameron, really likes Adam Henry, and has a tie to the state of Louisiana. He's a local kid that really feels like he has a tie to the state. So I think LSU has a slight edge here, but there's a bunch of schools in the mix. Texas Tech, Texas A&M, and now Oklahoma State, I think could be a big competitor with his friend and training partner Jalen McCleskey committing there recently.
Do you think he could be waiting to see how the Tigers eventually the rest of the season plays out? We've got 2 games he's been able to watch thus far, but LSU hasn't gotten to the meat of the SEC schedule yet. So you think that could be something he's waiting to see?
I think that's a big factor here. When speaking with his father shortly after the LSU game this past weekend, he asked me what I thought about their quarterback position moving forward. And I think that's something that they're really looking at. They want to see these young quarterbacks, Anthony Jennings, Brandon Harris, how are they going to mature in this offense and develop? And will they be able to get Tyron the ball at the next level? So I think that definitely plays a role in his recruitment right now.
Okay, well, let's move on. Odds on Dante Jackson.
Yeah, Dante's another one that's, he's a little easier to read. He's down at 2 schools with LSU and Georgia. If I were to put a number on it right now for the Tigers, I think 45%. I think Georgia has a little lead here right now. He recently visited Georgia again for the Georgia-Clemson game. He had a visit, was it Dog Night, I think it's called, one of their camps in the summer. Speaks really highly of the program, his time there, his experiences, and his relationship with the coaching staff at Georgia. LSU's working very hard on keeping him home, but in the end right now I feel like Georgia's got a slight lead, so I'll say 45% LSU, 55% Georgia.
Okay, and the big one, literally, Jerry Tillery, who is a Notre Dame commitment. Can the Tigers flip him? What is the Tigers' odds on Jerry?
You know, I think they can. You know, here's a guy that's been on campus a lot. If you start from the summer, the spring game, scrimmages, the game in Houston, the season opener against Wisconsin, Jerry's made a lot of trips to Baton Rouge or to go visit the Tigers, and I think there's a 60% chance the Tigers land him. Even though he is committed to Notre Dame, we're talking about two other prospects that are uncommitted. I think they have the better chance of landing him at this stage than the other two mentioned.
I think some people would be shocked by that.
I think a lot of people will, you know, but you have to remember Jerry Tillery wants to be a doctor. And when you stay in-state in an in-state program like LSU, your chances of getting into medical school are probably a little bit easier than being an out-of-state prospect going to Notre Dame or whatnot. And I think that could play a role as well as some other factors. He's really developed a good relationship with Jeff Grimes and really likes the LSU football program. So I think in the end they could earn the signature for Jerry Tillery.
All right, it's going to be a tough one for LSU because we have a photo. He was at the Notre Dame-Michigan game this past weekend, and it looked like he was having quite a bit of fun. There you see him crowd surfing, so it'll be interesting for sure.
Yeah, 315 pounds hoisted in the air like that. As you know, one of our producers said earlier, maybe they should be recruiting the guys holding him up. And I think, you know, so he definitely enjoyed himself.
All right. Well, thanks for coming in, Jimmy. And that's all the time we have for today. That's Jimmy Smith. I'm Julie Boudwin. Thanks for watching.